Hey everyone. So today we're going to go over solving linear equations with variables on both sides. This pretty much just means that you're solving equations, but the variable shows up in multiple places. In this case, there's one on the right side and the left side of the equal sign. So the first thing we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to put all of the variables on the same side. Now, it doesn't really matter which side you choose. You can put it on the right side, you can put it on the left side of the equal sign. It doesn't matter, but it has to be on one side. So we'll start with a pretty basic one. I'm going to start with 6r plus 7 is equal to 13 plus 7r. Okay. So I'm going to move things to the left. There's no real reason for it. I just prefer to move it to the left. So that means that I want my variable term. Let me break this up into terms. Now remember, terms can be broken up by addition and subtraction signs. So there's my two terms. I saw the addition sign, so I stopped my first term and started my next one. Again, I'm going to stop when I see the addition sign and start my new term. So here, these are my terms. I'm going to move my variable term to the left, and I'm going to move my constant term to the right. So that's just a preference. Again, it doesn't matter which way you go, as long as all your variables are on one side and all your constants are on the other. This is slightly different from what I was going over in class, but not too much. This is the step ahead of it. So again, to move plus 7r to the other side, or I have to do the opposite of what I was originally doing. So if originally I was adding 7r, I'm now going to be, let me make that a little bit. I'm now going to be minusing 7r from both sides. So now I have 6r plus 7 minus 7r is equal to 13 because I moved that 7r term to the other side. Now I'm going to take this plus 7 and I'm going to move it to the other side because remember I put my variables left, so I'm going to put my constants right. So whichever way you moved your variables, your constants have to go the other way. So again, I'm going to, this is a plus 7, I'm going to minus 7 from both sides. So now I have 6r minus 7r is equal to 13 minus 7. Now when you get to this point, all you have to do is simplify. Your job is to make the variable the only thing on its side. So in this case, the left side, the variable should be the only thing left on the left side. So if you need to subtract like terms, which remember like terms means that you have the same variable with the same exponent. So we can subtract these. If we have 6r minus 7r, all you're going to do is you're going to take the front parts. That was 6 first. The front parts. And you're going to subtract them. So 6 minus 7 is -1. And then plop the variable back. So the variable and the exponents are really only there to identify them as like terms. Past that, they're not really that important. What's the important thing here is the coefficient, the front part of it. That's the one you're going to do the math with. So you're going to take the 6, that's the front part, the 7, that's the front part. There's a minus in between them, so I'm going to do 6 minus 7. Gives me -1, and then plop the r back in there. And then I have 13 minus 7, which is 6. Now remember, this r has to be the only thing that's there. It's not the only thing that's there right now. There's a -1 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this -1, which we know is -1 times r, because when you have two values next to each other, that's multiplication. And I'm going to divide by -1 to both sides. Again, it's because whenever you move something from one side to the other side, you have to do the opposite of what it was originally doing. So if it was originally multiplying, the opposite of multiplication is division. So these cancel, so I just end up with r, and then I get 6 divided by -1, which is -6. So the solution to this is r equals -6. Okay, let's move on to a harder one. Let's try number 5. It looks pretty complicated, but again, if you just follow the steps, you'll be fine. And the steps being so the steps to solving equations is pretty much this. 1. Put the variable terms on one side and the constants, these are just your numbers without variables, on the other side. It doesn't matter which one goes where. I just personally put all my variables left and I put my constants to the right. That way I never have to think about it and I never have to decide. That's just what I do every time. But if you want to do it the opposite way, go for it. It really doesn't make a difference. And then number 2, we're going to combine like terms. So when you're combining like terms, you need to take the terms that have the same variable and the same... Take terms with same variable and same exponent and combine them. And that I say combine because sometimes you're going to be adding, sometimes you're going to be subtracting. So all you're going to do is you're going to put them together, depending on the operation that they tell you. And then step 3, you're going to go through SADMAP to solve for the variable. Now remember, when you're solving for a variable, that just means that the variable is all alone. And I'm going to put this little kind of half step here. I'm going to put this as step 0.5 because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's not always going to be there, so it's not a full step. It's just get rid of any parenthesis through distributive properties. And we'll do a couple that go over this. So don't worry about that. We will go over a few that have to deal with this, but the steps 1, 2, 3, these are the ones that you have to do every single time. So again, we're going to do number 5 here. So we have negative 14 plus 6b plus 7 minus 2b is equal to 1 plus 5b. All right, that's not too bad. So again, I'm going to move all my variable terms to the left. I'm going to move all my constant terms to the right. So I'm going to break it up into terms. Again, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, it would make your life a little bit easier as you get used to this. So I'm going to break these up into terms, stopping whenever I see an addition or a subtraction sign to start my next term. And then there's that, and then there's this, and there's that. Again, I'm not including the equal sign because it's an equal sign. It's not really part of the problem. It's like the doorway between the two sides. So I'm going to move all my variable terms left. So this is the only variable term on my right side. I'm going to move it left here. So if it's plus 5b, I am going to subtract 5b because remember, you always want to do the opposite. So minus 5b. So I end up with negative 14 plus 6b plus 7 minus 2b minus 5b is equal to 1 because this 5b moved. So all that's left is the 1. And then here I'm going to move my constant terms. So this is a constant term and that's a constant term because they don't have variables, so they're constants. So I'm going to then, if this is negative 14, I'm going to add 14. Remember, you just do the opposite of whatever it was doing before. If this is plus 7, I'm going to minus 7, and then I'm just going to do the same thing here, plus 14 minus 7. So I end up with, that's gone, so that's 6b. That's gone, so minus 2b, and then minus 5b is equal to 1 plus 14 minus 7. So now that I've put all my variable terms on one side and the constants on the other side, I now move to step 2. My step 2 is to combine like terms. These are all like terms because they all have the same variable b, and they are all to the exponent of 1. So I do 6 minus 2b. So that's, again, we're just going to take the front parts, the coefficients. It's going to be 6 minus 2 minus 5. And then that is 6 minus 2 is 4. 6 minus 2 is 4. And then 4 minus 5 is negative 1. B. Got to put the label back at the end. And then 1 plus 14 is 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. And again, I want the b to be absolutely alone. There should be absolutely nothing there except for the b, except for my variable. In this case, there's a negative 1 there. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 because originally this was negative 1 times b. So the opposite of times is division. Divide by negative 1. So I end up with b is equal to negative 8. So there's that. Now, these will pretty much look exactly the same every single time if you follow these steps. So please keep them around. I'm going to make a copy of that so I can just, there we go. Let me do another problem over here. Let's see if I have room. There we go. Okay, so let's say we want to do, I don't know, let's do one with parenthesis this time. So I'm going to put this here so we have those right next to us. So let's do number 11. So we have negative 8n plus 4 parenthesis 1 plus 5n equals negative 6n minus 14. So here's what we're going to do here. Again, our 0.5 step is to get rid of any parentheses through the distributive property. The distributive property means that I can multiply any number outside the parenthesis to every term in the parenthesis. So I'm going to multiply like this. Okay, that's distributive property. You take your outside number, you multiply it to the inside. Outside number, you multiply it to the inside. That's all you're doing. So I end up with negative 8n plus, because this is a positive 4, so positive 4 times 1 is 4. Positive 4 times 5n is 20n is equal to negative 6n minus 14. Okay, now I'm going to put the variable terms on the left and the constant terms on the right. I'm going to do this just so that you can see how the terms are split up again. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just something that I do to let you know how the terms are split. And if you want to do this too, if this helps you, go for it. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see, this negative 6n needs to be put to the other side. So I'm going to put positive 6n. Remember, plus and positive, minus and negative, they're the same thing. They're interchangeable. So if this says a negative 6n, you could also think of it as a minus 6n. So I'm going to plus 6n to both sides. So this ends up with negative 8n plus 4 plus 20 plus 6n equals negative 14. Now I'm going to move my constants over. So this is a plus 4, so I'm going to minus 4. This is a plus 20, so I'm going to minus 20 from both sides. So I end up with negative 8n plus 6n equals negative 14 minus 4 minus 20. So here, we're going to take our negative 8 plus 6, because these are the front parts, if we want to combine these like terms, which we are now in part 2. Negative 6 plus 8 is negative 2. Put the label at the end. Negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18. And minus 20 is negative 38. You don't have to do it all in your head like that. If you can, awesome. But, I mean, if you need to work it out step by step, I recommend it. And then here, again, we don't want this negative 2 there. We want our variable to be all alone. So this is divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. n is equal to 38 divided by 2 is 19. And then negative divided by negative is positive. So this is a positive 19. And that's our answer. I know that this is my answer. I know that I'm done because my variable's all alone. Once your variable's all alone, you know you're done. Okay. And then I will do one more that is probably on the harder side. So here we go. So let's try this bottom one here. This is probably one of the harder things you're gonna get outside of like fractions and decimals. But if you know your fraction rules and your decimal rules, then you should be fine with those. The steps aren't any different. The only difference is that you're dealing with fractions instead of whole numbers. So if we need a fraction or decimal review, please let me know. I'd be totally fine to go over those rules again because they will be showing up. And unless somebody says something, I'm just going to assume all of you know how to do operations with fractions and decimals. So then if we were to do number 20 here, move that over this side here. So we have negative 3x minus 1 plus 8 x minus 3 equals 6x plus 7 minus 5x. All right. So again, we're going to do step 0.5, which is get rid of any parentheses through the distributive property, which means that we're going to multiply the outside number of this parenthesis to everything on the inside. So what we got here is negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 1 is, sorry, negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Again, if I'm using negative and minus interchangeably, it's because they are. You can switch them out. It doesn't make a difference. There's literally no difference between them. So if I say negative instead of minus, it's because they're the same. So you should treat them like they're the same. It's a lot easier if you do. And then positive 8 times x is positive 8x. Positive 8 times negative 3 is negative 24 equals 6x plus 7 minus 5x. I didn't really do anything with those. Then I'm going to do my step 1, put the variables on one side, put the constants on the other. So I'm going to do my little terms thing. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just me showing you how it's split up. If you want to do this, go for it. All right. So here I got, I'm going to move my 6x and minus 5x to the other side. So we got positive 6. So I'm going to do negative 6x. This is a negative 5x. So I'm going to do a positive 5x. So again, I'm going to move that there and I move this like that. So I end up with negative 3x plus 3 plus 8x minus 24 minus 6x plus 5x equals, the only thing left there is 7. So now that I move all my variables to the left, I'm going to move my constants to the right. So all I got to do is identify my constants. So that's a plus 3, so I'm going to do minus 3. That is a minus 24, so I'm going to do plus 24, and I believe that's it. So again, minus 3 plus 24. So I end up with negative 3x plus 8x, because that 3 is gone. This negative 24, this minus 24 is gone. So I have minus 6x plus 5x equals 7 minus 3 plus 24. Now that I've got that out of the way, I'm just going to take, are these all like terms? Yes, because they all have the same variable and they all have the same exponent. So I'm just going to combine them. So this is negative 3 plus 8 minus 6 plus 5. I'm just taking the front parts because that's the only thing that's really I'm going to do math with. The x, I can just plop it on later. So negative 3 plus 8 is 5 minus 6 plus 5. That's negative 1 plus 5, and then 4. So 4x is equal to negative 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. 4 plus 24 is 28. I'm going to divide by 4 to both sides. So x is equal to 28 divided by 4 is 7. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do this for homework, but it would be really good practice to have being able to do equations. This is not going to go away. And this is really nice because it has the answers here. Now, don't worry about, you can have these answers, it's fine. So you can use this as practice. You can pause it to make sure whatever you need to do. There we go. So that's it for today. If you have any more questions, I will help you out.